Welcome back to Arena's Writing Your Political Resume on Demand series. This is module number 2, which is going to focus on format and formatting your resume. So as we dive in, I have some what might be unfortunate news for some folks. The one-page rule is real. For all the reasons we laid out in the first module when thinking about the hiring manager's experience, the kind of timelines they're working on, how quickly they are going to scan your resume, keeping your resume to a tight one page is really essential for political hiring. And our goal today is to give you all the tools you need to get your resume to one page in the most painless way possible. I want to put a slight asterisk on this for those of you out there who have maybe more than 10 to 15 years of experience in the field. There are a couple of things you can do. 2 pages can be okay as long as the experience is still relevant and resonant to the job you're applying for. If it's not, then only use bullet points to explain a handful of the important and relevant roles and simply list out your other positions and titles at the bottom of the resume. We'll talk about how to do that as we go. But in general, I would say for 95% of you watching this video, the one-page resume is going to be the way to go. As we think about suggested structure for your resume, I want to walk through what we think is the sort of most seamless and professional suggested structure for your resume. We want to start at the top with your header. Your header is going to contain your name. You want it to be bold. You want it to be able to be seen well at the top of your resume. And then just simply your contact information, mobile phone, email, where you're from, where you're based, right? And whether you are open to relocation to another turf or another city. Great information to include in your resume, your pronouns, if you're comfortable sharing those, and your LinkedIn profile. Things that we would suggest that you not include in your header are your full address. For one reason, it's simply not necessary anymore. We're not sending each other mail as much in the hiring process as we might have done 10, 20 years ago. So it's not necessary. And secondly, from both an equity and a safety perspective in our current environment, we would suggest keeping your full address off of the header of your resume. So we'll dive into that a little bit more later, but simple header, nice and clean at the top. Below that is your professional experience, right? You want each of your jobs to be very clear and listed. We'll talk about how to format those, but you're going to go with your professional experience under there. Additional experience, if you're including an additional experience section or a community involvement or a volunteer experience section, that goes right below. Then you want to go skills and education, if you're including your education on there, and we can talk a little bit more later about why you may or may not want to. If you're including a summary statement, which some people would think of as an objective statement, and again, further along in the training, we're going to talk a little bit about when we suggest you might use one versus not. If you're including a summary statement, it's going to go right below the header and before your experience. But in general, for most folks who have some amount of credits in the resume, this kind of simple format is going to serve you well. So let's talk about the tenets of good resume formatting. And you saw a little bit of an example of this in the resume that was on the previous screen. And we'll look at some more examples in just a minute. So you want to make sure that your section headers are clear and readable and differentiated from the rest of the text on the page. You want to make sure that you're always using bullet points to describe your experience, not paragraphs. Paragraphs are very, very hard for a hiring manager to scan. You want to use bullet points. We're going to talk about how to make those bullet points as strong and active as possible in the next module. You want to make sure that the organization you worked for, the role you held, the location, and the time period, the dates that you worked, are just easy to read and differentiated from the rest of the text on the page. You also want to embrace white space. And this may seem a little counterintuitive, especially since we're saying, no, you need to get your resume down to a single page. But it's important that that single page contain white space, because white space is what helps the hiring manager's eye scan the page, right? So taking a 2-page resume and condensing it down to 1 page by making the text just a full block of text isn't going to help you, right? You need to think about how white space facilitates a clean scan of your resume. You always want to vary your font size. You can vary your font size, but just make sure not to go below 10 points, because 10 points is really, anything below that becomes kind of unreadable. The only exception where this can go a little bit less is maybe in your header, your contact information, that kind of information that folks will go to if they need it. That can go a little bit lower, but 10 points for everything else or anything else is about as small as you want to go. And we're going to play with those margins to get this resume down to a single page for sure. We just want to make sure those margins are no smaller than 0.5 inches. All right, so those are the things you want to keep in mind as you think about formatting your resume. The biggest thing that I can share with you is to keep it simple, right? Generally, we recommend that you avoid design unless that's the role you're going for. So keep your resume simple, clean, and concise. And let's go ahead and take a look at some of these examples. As you're looking at these examples, we want to focus in on format and less about content, right? So don't dive into the details of content here, but think more about what stands out visually to you when you look at this. What do you notice most about this resume when you scan it? What do you think is challenging about this resume? So for me, when I look at this, it's a couple of things that stand out. Obviously, it's 2 pages, which given this person's experience is not necessary, right? We could get this experience onto a single page. It's organized in paragraphs, again, describing the experience under each job in paragraph form rather than bullet points, which is hard to follow or scan, right? Generally, when I try to scan this resume, it's really challenging to follow. My eyes land on the dates first, and that's maybe the least important information because those dates are all the way there over to the left. And they're bolded. And so my eyes not landing on where did I work or what position did this person have? It's landing on just the dates, right? So you want to keep that in mind. I will mention one content thing. It has references listed on it. We do not recommend that you include your references on your resume or even that you take space including references available upon request. Hiring managers know that. They will ask for references when they need it. So this is one example of a resume that shows some formatting challenges. A second resume, another example, we want to look at what's going on here. What do we notice about the format and the layout when we look at it? And I've seen a lot of resumes come through in this format. For me, as a hiring manager, way too busy, too much design. I don't know what the symbols mean, right? There's a lot of visuals on here. There's a lot of icons. I'm not sure what they connect to. There's a section where they're trying to describe their experience in a certain number of little dots. And basically, if I need a key to interpret your resume, I'm probably going to set it aside, right? Right now, my eye doesn't land on the experience, which is all over in that right-hand column. My eye is landing on the images that are in this left-hand column and across the bottom, right? And that's taking all of my attention. So the most important information is really getting lost here. All right, so let's go back to that example we shared earlier. Slightly different format. What makes this resume better when you scan it visually? Thinking back to those other 2 examples, right? I can scan here. I can really clearly see what organization the person worked for. I can see what role they held and the dates that they held that role for. The section headers are really clear. The formatting is simple. My eye can just scan right down. I see those bullet points. They all lead with strong active verbs, which are giving me a sense of this person's skills and the actions that they took. I see a skills section at the bottom that is reinforcing everything that I'm seeing in the bullet points above. And it's just really clean and clear. There's a good amount of white space, but it's still giving me a lot of information about this person, right? So it's a lot of content, a lot of talk about format. Want to give you, as we wrap up this module, a minute to write before you jump on to the next module. What's one aspect of formatting that you want to improve on your resume? So as we wrap up here, before you press play on the next module, take a minute to write that down for yourself. And we will look forward to seeing you next up, module number 3, which is our module on writing. So join us in the next brief module. We're going to explore best practices for writing those resume bullet points. I'll see you in a bit.